I didn't notice, even though it didn't seem loud yesterday, there's a lot of background noise.
It is. Find a quiet place in Vietnam.
Well, that's why I hope that, because I seen Sammy start doing interviews up at the hotel.
Okay.
That's how I found out. Well, my girlfriend told me, oh, they have a big lounge up there. It has perfect windows with plenty of light. And I said, okay. And then they just went up there. They said everybody's welcome. So that's where I want to do my interviews.
In the Yara, they have this rooftop, but they do want you to order something, which is okay.
Here, there's nothing. I think they have a bar there, but it's supposedly it's like outside of that area.
I think they wait until a lot of people discover that as a nice place, and then they try to make you buy some stuff. So, how did you survive the durian yesterday?
It was okay.
You slept well after that?
Yeah, I slept about the same.
There's nothing to it, is it?
I think it's a little overhyped both ways. I don't think it was great, but I don't think it was as bad as people say it is.
I must be offended. I really do like this food, and I do pay the money for it. If I wouldn't pay, what is it, It's about 10 to 15 times what another fruit costs by weight, by volume, whatever.
Right.
I wouldn't pay it if I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I was so shocked at how expensive. So they got to take into account they have to charge a lot just in the fact that so many people don't like it. So the only people that are buying it are the rare people that enjoy it, which means there's so many people that don't like it that they have to charge a lot because there's not so many people that go and buy it.
Economically, it wouldn't make sense. It's all supply and demand. And like I said, the Chinese buying everything that they can get their hand on concerning durian.
Why is that? Is that because they like it, or is that just because they want to corner the market?
You cannot store it. You eat it.
So they love it.
Maybe they process it somewhere into a cake or cookie or whatever. That could be.
But that seems kind of like defeating the point. You go buy an expensive fruit to blend it into something cheap.
Beats me. I've never been in China.
I was there, but I never noticed it.
I came as close as Hong Kong, and then people came over and they literally stank. And I said, hey, buddy, what's up with you? And I say,
fruit?
I know what you're talking about. It's... I'm talking long time ago, right? They are not set up for foreigners. You come with your clothes after 3 weeks, all your clothes you brought with you are filthy. Say, can I wash? And there are these few 5-star hotels who charge you more than that stuff is worth. You can buy new clothes, right? Nobody washes it at that time. I don't know today. Today probably they have plenty set up for backpackers or normal tourists. At that time, only like executives that wanted to make business visited China, and very few backpackers. There were no tourism industry in that time, right? So there was no setup. It was hard to find a place to stay. It was hard to make people understand anything. Like you wanted a bus ticket. I knew a guy that even spoke some Chinese. And speaking Chinese doesn't mean you can communicate with all people because they have these dialects. So he said, I got lost. I took buses somewhere. I had no idea for weeks where I am. Today it might be all different, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Chinese remain to be weird people.
I think it's just because they're so isolated from everybody. Not as bad as like North Korea, but one, you need a visa to get in there, so you can't just pop in for a quick trip.
I heard a lot of bad stuff, so I stayed in Hong Kong.
I heard a lot of bad stuff before I went there too, but I went to Hong Kong, I went to Shenzhen, and I went to Chongqing, and I had a good time at all three of them. But it was kind of weird. Actually, that was the very first Asian country I've ever been to.
That's hard. The first country and then that.
But I did just come back from a European trip, and then I came back a few months into the USA, and then I went from San Francisco to Hong Kong. Great deal. It was $380 for a round trip.
What year was that?
2019.
Okay.
So
just before COVID.
I got back at the end of November of 2019. So it was like 2.5, 3 months before COVID.
All right.
So it was like just right before that.
What did you do during COVID times?
During COVID, I wish I would have been locked out into another country, because I actually had a trip planned for 2020, April 28th. I remember it's basically my travel nightmare. So I had a whole Eastern European trip booked 2019, or no, 2020. And I was going to go starting in Poland, Ukraine, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, Georgia. I was going all up and down the eastern part of Europe because I just came back from Western and a little further over in Czech and Hungary. So that trip got canceled 2 weeks before I was supposed to go. So then I was already trading stock options. So I just kept doing that. And everyone thought, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks to slow the spread. Remember, that's what the whole story was, like 2 weeks to slow the spread. So I was like, okay, I'll just trade some stocks for a couple weeks. Then it was like a month or two into that. I was like, man, I'm getting bored here. So I was scrolling YouTube.
Where are you sitting at the moment? In what city?
I was about 30 minutes outside of San Francisco, so in the Bay Area in California.
This is also where you grew up?
This is where I grew up. Born and raised there until I went to college in San Francisco. So I lived in San Francisco for about 6 years, but basically my rest of my life was all in a city called Vallejo. It's San Francisco's about 30 minutes here, and then the wine country, Napa, is about 20 minutes the other way. So I'm basically right in the middle of there. So then I started watching YouTube videos. That's what everybody practically did back then. Everybody was locked in. So they watched Netflix, they cleaned their house, or they watched YouTube. So I started watching YouTube, and I found out about this new crazy thing, online reselling, right? So I was like, what the hell is this? So very skeptical. But I kept seeing this video. Mostly, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he kept talking about like, oh, this is crazy. This is a great business. And I was like, no way. And basically the business was go to either secondhand stores like Goodwill, these thrift stores, or go to Facebook Marketplace, buy things that were severely underpriced, given away, or things that are easily to be either cleaned up or repaired. So I said, you know what, man, this is BS. But I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. There was nothing but time. So I traded stock options in the morning. 6:30 in the morning, I would get up, trade my stock options, be done at 1 o'clock. So then in the afternoon, I started going out. I went to like a thrift store, and I was like, what the hell is this crap? Like, I was like kind of a snob. I was like, no one's going to buy this. So I bought something that kind of everyone was saying was big at the time. I bought it, put it on eBay, and it sold quick. And I think I made 4 or 5 times what I paid for it. And I was like,
people were probably buying it because they were that bored.
Kind of. And some things you just don't understand. Stuff has a value, but especially as us Americans, we're disposable economy, right? So if your phone breaks, you don't go take it to the phone repair. Here in Da Nang, they go take their jeans. If they rip a hole in their jeans, they don't go down to Walmart or go order a new pair on Amazon. They go get it repaired and sewed. So there was all kinds of stuff that I didn't know. Like the first few things that kind of I bought and sold were like VHS players, VCRs. I was like, those were like around when I was like 12 years old, 13 years old. Nobody uses them, right? And I was like, no way. But then I started like getting into that, and I started realizing there's a lot of older people at the time that didn't know the newer technology. So they had these wedding videos or all these old tapes, or it was during the lockdown where they didn't even have DVDs. They didn't even know the technology, older people. So they were paying $100, $200 for VCRs, right?
So they had the tapes, and then you need the machine for it.
And you need the machine for it. So that's where that came in. There was other things like other stuff like landline phones. Landline phones, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I haven't used a landline phone in 20 years, right? But then you start realizing there's certain brands of phones that were like the Cadillac of these brands, and then you don't realize until you actually sit down and find out who your customers are. Businesses. So a place like a business like this is not going to have a cell phone to call them. They have a landline. Hospitals, Hospitals need landlines. Places that have fax machines. So then these companies would buy stuff like that. So I just kind of went through this whole process of learning what sells, and I did that for about 2 years. I had a storage unit. So I had a whole process. At one time, I had it down. I learned the business from the bottom to the top. Basically, the morning I had it, I would go set out in a certain area in the Bay Area, go hit up all these places. Either people were giving stuff away for free or selling it cheap, or go to a secondhand shop, buy it. I would come back, wipe it down, take pictures of it, put it all packaged up in my box, store it in my storage unit, have an inventory number on it so I knew where it was at. Because at one point I probably had 400, 500 different items. So then it would go on eBay or go on Facebook, and as soon as it sold, I would drive to my storage unit, go look for that box where I put it. That's when I learned how to be organized. Grab the box, take it down to the FedEx or the DHL or the UPS, send it out.
That's another advantage you have in the States. Postage is inside the country is damn cheap.
It seemed expensive at the time, but I guess when you compare it to other places, it does. But for us back at the time,
that ruins the business. For example, where I come from in Germany, you don't make money because the postage like $7. You know? On an item that is worth 10 or 20,
yeah,
it's not worth it.
And it's even crazier because Amazon's kind of even gets better deals than like a regular peasant like me. Amazon can send stuff. The whole joke was like Amazon would send these huge boxes of stuff, and it would just be a tiny little phone case in it, and they would pay almost nothing to get these stuff shipped off.
Well, you go to the post office and say, look, I want to buy 1 billion coupons. You know, how much discount will you give me?
I know.
It's the same. You know, I have Prime in Germany.
Yeah.
They send me stuff for free. I never pay a penny
for shipping. Yeah.
It's so cheap for them. You just slap it on the price.
They get amazing deals. That was the same thing in the USA. That's why it's a big night and day difference when you buy stuff over here, because there is a version, close to a version of Amazon that I use. It's called Shopee, but it's different. It's all cash on delivery. And Amazon, you have your card on there, right? You order it, and it's either there the next day or the second day. And guess what? You can have it for 30 days and say like, oh, I didn't really like it. You pop it back in a box. Amazon covers the return shipping back. No questions asked. Like in Asia, that just doesn't exist. You couldn't just use something for 30 days and say, I didn't really like it. It wasn't my style. Let me send it back. It's a big difference.
In my time in Florida, I worked for an export company. When my time came to go, I packed everything in big crates.
Yeah.
And I bought new stuff like a printer, PC, all this stuff. And I rubbed a little bit something to make it look old.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be your used items that you take if you, right? Boxed it all up and sent it over the company. 69 pounds, 69 cents a pound.
It must be a lot more expensive in Germany, huh?
I sent it to Colombia.
But in Germany, that would have been, it wouldn't have been worth it.
Anyway, I received it in Colombia. I lived there for a year. Then I wanted to move to Europe. And most of the stuff I had like a TV set and a PC. And I all sold it there because you sell, even if it's a year old, you're selling it for like 30% more than the new price. And then from the US to Colombia, it's the same voltage. In Germany, it's not. So you can't use it unless you have a converter.
Yeah, the converter.
So sell the whole crap over there for cheaper. And then there was, from these 2 big crates I had, was lots of stuff. There were like cartons left like these. And I had a ship guy. Now I'm not with this company anymore.
Right.
I say, okay, 2 of these boxes to Germany. Oh, this is gonna be $600. Fuck you.
$600.
Get out of here. And then, yeah, okay, I measure, and then it's $400. And I said, I threw him out of my place. And I said, I looked a little bit around. I would have gotten a bit cheaper, but I'm thinking the content of these 2 boxes is about the same price.
Yeah.
So why bother? And then maybe the customs will look packets that come from Colombia. No.
Yeah, they'd have the dog sniffing it.
So I gave it away, whatever I had. And what was valuable at that time was my laptop that I paid $3,000 for it at that time.
3,000? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, 2001, and I wanted a good one. So I took what was really valuable. The other crap, and only holds you down.
Yeah.
You're a traveler. If you move ever away from here, don't own more than you can carry, right?
That's my big problem, man.
You're an accumulator.
Not an accumulator, but shockingly, I don't even have a second pair of shoes, but I still have 3 bags. So I have a carry-on, which basically has my laptop, my drone batteries, and even my bachelor's degree. So I have to carry that around, which kind of makes it kind of inconvenient. But then I have like my all my clothes are in a big suitcase, like the big check-in, and I could probably squeeze my smaller backpack into that one. But when I left the USA, I said instead of just stomping on it, squeezing it down, and doing that, I'm just going to bring one extra bag. But I would love, my dream is basically to travel with a school backpack, and that's it. But I just know I just never could do that. I have to carry my bachelor's degree around. I have my drone. I have my electronics.
How big is your drone?
My drone just a mini, maybe this big. So not so big.
Have you used it lately?
Not lately. I haven't really. I should use it a lot more, but I used it on the beach not that long ago, but I don't use it as much as I should. I'm the type to get stuff just in case I have to use it down the road, and then 80 or 90% of the time I won't use it. But
it's the same like you have a swimming pool in your hotel. First couple of days you come from a cold country. Oh yeah, it's so nice. After a week,
you're done.
Swim more,
Yeah, and that's kind of the things that some people will overpay for a gym and a pool in an apartment, and then they end up not using it, and they go, "Hey man, I spent an extra $100." But that's what people learn, man.
Going back to Bay Area and COVID. Now COVID is over.
Yeah, it's been over for a long time.
I mean, go back to that year.
Yeah.
Where they say, okay, gates are open again. Stampede, everybody.
Everyone was still scared a little bit, at least. The Bay Area is a very political spot, so there was a lot of hey, if you don't wear 2 masks, you can't even come inside the restaurant. So I was on the other boat. I didn't have to go to a job because I worked for myself, basically. So I didn't have to deal with all the mask stuff, but all the mask mandates and the vaccines, all that stuff was going crazy at the time.
That was so funny. A buddy of mine went into a pizza joint in Düsseldorf. He's sitting and munching down, and then the cops come in. You're not wearing a mask.
Wow.
What? I'm not wearing a mask. I'm eating. You're supposed. How do I eat the pizza when I wear a mask?
Cut a hole in it.
Don't be ridiculous.
They did that to me in the Philippines. I was in the Philippines right when the Philippines still had kind of the COVID mask mandate when I got there in 2022. We were eating food and they wanted us to take a bite and then put your mask on and then keep pulling it down and up. They did that to me in Reno, Tahoe in the USA. Also, they said, take a bite and then you put your mask up, and then when you go for another one. I was like, it was so insane. I was just so glad that I didn't actually work for a company, because I just know how crazy the mandates would have been. And then now if you look today, it's like everybody forgot about it. Like everyone was like, if you don't go get the vaccine, you're going to be dead. If you don't wear a mask, you're going to be in a hospital dead. Like, there was just so much stuff behind it. I'm just so glad that I didn't have anyone to answer to and have to follow these rules and all kinds of stuff, because I don't know what I would have done. But I wish, the only thing that I do wish about that COVID time, I wish I would have been out of the USA, not only just for myself and to travel more, but there was great deals at the time. I hear people saying like, oh man, even Danong, they did say that the lockdowns were kind of strong here. But they said, man, we used to rent these amazing apartments for like $300, $200, all this other stuff. Plus, I think my YouTube channel would have grown a lot bigger during that time, because a lot of the guys that were locked down during that time that I used to watch were small channels. And then now when you look at them, yeah, big channels.
Else to do, yeah.
They hit kind of the jackpot.
I didn't think of that.
They hit the jackpot, because I've seen them. These guys had hundreds or maybe 1,000, 2,000, and now when you look at them, there's some guys that I watch now that I watched back then. They have 50,000. They have 200,000. They have 500,000. And these are guys that I started watching back then that maybe only had 1,000 or 2,000 people.
There's a guy, Cody Pence.
I think I've seen that guy.
Short-haired, tall guy.
He's always, is that the guy that's always like in Latin America or something? Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen clips of him. I don't watch him, but I've seen clips of him.
He has 3 million followers. How does he do that? How do you get? I think it's 3.3.
That's a lot. Even one guy that I watch, been watching for a long time, I think he has a little more than that, is Bald and Bankrupt. I love that guy's channel.
I heard of it.
You never, man, Bald he's a very good character. He's probably the face of travel, especially back in COVID time, at least for me. I know he didn't have nowhere near that many subscribers back then, but he's a very interesting character. He adds a little history to it, a little entertainment, cheapness. So he's perfect. But it's just kind of weird how some guys.
Is that the guy that always admits to being an alcoholic?
No, not him. He's from the UK, and he could speak like Russian. I guess his ex-wife or something was Russian or something. So you'll see him a lot going to like Russia or former Soviet Union places. Got a beard. He's a huge. I'm sure if anyone Googles him or looks him up on YouTube, that he's very, very memorable.
His name is just similar to the one I'm referring to.
I think the guy that you're talking about is the guy down in Ho Chi Minh.
That's Big Bentley.
No. This is another guy, Fat and Broke.
Fat and Broke, right?
That's the guy. Yeah. I think he kind of worked his name from Bald and Bankrupt. I think. I don't follow that guy, but I hear lots of stories. A lot of my subscribers always come into my live streams and they talk, because I think that guy mostly does live streams. He does live streams. He doesn't do that many.
He's coming out of immigration in Ho Chi Minh in the airport there, and he goes, look at all these guys. He's going by the stores there, money changers and reservations. Don't go there, all scammers. They're all scammers. And he's just,
who was saying that?
Fat and Broke.
I see. And who was saying don't say that?
His wife.
Oh, his wife.
And he goes out and he tells you go over there, you buy yourself a SIM card.
Yeah.
And then you go over here by the D2 pillar when the Grab car stop, and then you get in town for nothing. If you go with these guys, they scam you.
Yeah. I always hear people pop into my live stream. They'll say, hey, he got into another fight today. So apparently I think he drinks and then he gets into fights. And I think a lot of his channel is just about controversy. I've seen very, very few, couple minutes of a live stream, but I don't really follow him. But there's always interesting stories behind him.
So, COVID is over and your first trip was to the Philippines?
So I went to Asia very first time in 2019, and that's when I landed in China. So that trip was from like September to almost the end of November, 90 days. But I went to 6 countries in Asia during that time. That year, at the beginning of the year, I was in 9 countries in Europe. And then at the end of the year, I was in 6 countries in Asia. So that 1 year, not even a full year, probably about 9 or 10 month span, I was in 15 countries. So I went to China first, then I flew into Thailand, then, I'm sorry. I went China, Philippines, Thailand, then I think I went to Indonesia and Singapore and Vietnam. That was my first time in Vietnam, was in 2019. Yeah. Not to Da Nang. I wanted to come to Da Nang in 2019, but I didn't make it.
21, 22, you were holed up in California.
Yep. And then the next time I went international, I did a little bit of travel in the USA. I think it was 2021. and a little bit in 2022, but I didn't get back out of the country until September of 2022.
And where to?
So I landed in Bangkok. Landed in Bangkok. So how I kind of cheat the system, what I do is I take a flight from the USA to the cheapest Asian country. Like let's say even if I wanted to go to the Philippines or say I wanted to go to Vietnam, I go on Skyscanner and I'll find the cheapest way to get into Asia and then maybe spend a day or two there. And then what I do is then take a domestic Asian flight from Bangkok to Vietnam or that. It usually saves you a good amount of money. So what I did was I landed in Bangkok because I did actually somewhat enjoy Bangkok the very first time. So I landed in Bangkok, and then my plan was I was going to go to the Philippines a week later. At the time, the Philippines had all the COVID requirements. So you had to go take a test. You had to go take a test before you go into the Philippines. So I went down in Bangkok by Terminal 21 Mall. They had like a little medical center where they swab you and test you. So I took the test. I went back to my hotel. I think I went out for the night. And then when I came back, I got my results and it said, I failed. And I was like, failed? I was like, what are they talking about? They said, yeah, you have COVID. You can't fly. And I was like, what? So I actually had COVID the first time in 2021 in the USA. That one kind of wiped me out pretty good. But then I got it in Bangkok. That was my second time. But I didn't even notice it. So then I ended up staying for like another week in Bangkok. And I had to go back and go do a second test.
Did you have your ticket? Was it?
I didn't book it yet.
Oh, okay.
I at the time I used to be a very, very fast traveler, so I would book everything like the day before, the day of.
So you didn't lose a ticket?
I didn't lose anything, but actually I had to go back and go retest and pay another like testing fee, and I failed it again because no one told me. You had to wait at least like 2 weeks for it to go out of your system because I didn't even feel it when I took it. So I was in Bangkok. It was only supposed to be like 5 or 7 days, and I ended up staying in Bangkok for about a month. But the good thing about it was I didn't really care for Bangkok the first time in 2019, but I really, really enjoyed it that time. And I never would have been there if I wouldn't have had COVID and not been able to go out of the Philippines. So I ended up staying in Bangkok for that month. Then I went to the Philippines, and then that's where I met my girlfriend. And then we went from the Philippines to Bangkok, and I ended up technically living in Bangkok for about 5 or 6 months. And like I said, if I wouldn't have had COVID, I probably would have never went back to Bangkok again.
You stayed 5 months in Thailand. You had to make one visa run.
At the time, it was the 45-day visa. So what we did is we stayed in Thailand during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And then the first or the second week of January, I said, I know exactly where I want to go for my visa run for multiple reasons. One, because I didn't make it there in 2019. Two, because it's one of the cheapest tickets to get from Bangkok, which was Da Nang. So we came to Da Nang for about a week to do the border run. Stayed at the same apartment, not the same one, but the same building. And I loved the city. I loved it from that first time. So then I already had a ticket booked back to Bangkok. So we stayed in Bangkok for like 45 more days for our one more visa.
This was 21.
This just turned into 2023 because I landed in Bangkok September of 2022. Stayed there for a month, went to the Philippines for 2 months. I went to the Philippines for 1 month. Came back to Bangkok during Christmas of 2022, and New Year's turned into 2023. So then we did 45 more days in Bangkok, and then we came back to Da Nang in March of 2023. And then I've been here ever since. Now I've been back to the Philippines, and I made a couple of quick stops like in Taiwan, and I went back to the USA for almost 4 months, from September of 2023 to February of 2024. She went back to the Philippines. I went back. I stayed at my dad's house for about 3 months. cleaned out my storage that I told you that I had. I needed to get my hard copy of my bachelor's degree. Took care of some business, kind of took care of all my paperwork, anything I needed back there. Sold everything, sold my car, sold all the stuff in the storage unit. Packed up 3 bags. I already basically did 99% of that in 2022. The only thing I had was my storage unit that I was still paying on monthly, and I knew I had to go back at a certain point and finish up with that. And I had to get my bachelor's degree hard copy. But my plan in 2022 was never to come, at least stay out of the country for years. But the big thing that slowed me down was I used to teach English online, and the English online market was just completely different, dead from what it was in 2019. So that's why I went back to go get my
2019, you were making in 1 hour
like $17 an hour.
and that dropped to half or so.
Yeah, like when I go see these jobs, even the same company or similar jobs, they're like $8. I've seen some companies offer like 6. I've seen a few that might get up to like 10, 11, 12 bucks, but you don't even get that many hours anymore. That was 5 years ago. They were offering $17, and you would have a full schedule, or at least pretty much how many hours you wanted. Now it's even 50% less than that, and people are scrambling for hours. It was crazy because in 2019, I remember sitting in Bali, and people couldn't find anyone to work online. Like, I remember that's when the lights went off in my head. I just took a little trip to Asia the first time there, and I was like, man, I need to figure out a way to figure out how to earn money. I need to figure out a way to earn money out here online. Because at the time I was still living in the USA. I still had my apartment, and I was only taking those trips. Those were just a little trip. And the reason why I traveled that year is I wanted to go on an international trip, and I ended up volunteering to teach English in Spain. So I went out there and I did it, and I enjoyed it. I had a great time. And then when I came back, everyone's like, why'd you volunteer? Why don't you make money off of it? And at the time I had no clue. I was like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, oh no, you can teach English online or in person. You make all kinds of money. And I was like I looked at them like they were an alien. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was just happy to do it for free. I got a free trip out in Spain for like 10 days. And they're like, no, you can go online and teach. So that's when I found out about the TEFL or the TESL, whatever one you want to call it, whatever one you get. So it's just basically an online or in person. You have to study, and then you have to take this quiz. It's very boring and very in depth. But I got that, and then I became eligible. You need a bachelor's degree and the TESL certification to teach online or teach English as a second language. And that's when I made up the decision that, hey, I'm leaving the USA, man. The only thing I don't have is an online source of income. At the time back then, though, nobody was teaching online, at least nobody I knew, and there were so many jobs available. But fast forward to 2022, I thought those jobs were still out there, and those jobs were gone.
Did you ever work in China as a teacher?
No, but I was very, very close. Actually, just about that was my alternative plan, was to leave Da Nang and go teach English in China, because their pay is amazingly better than everybody else's.
How much would you make there?
There you would make about $4,000 US.
How much would you spend there?
Very little, because you have a free apartment provided to you. They do take out Social Security and retirement, which is maybe $500 US a month. And I budget extremely well. So for one, I wouldn't have an apartment fee. And also I would budget almost the same as here. I live extremely cheap, even here in Da Nang. So I would pocket probably right around $3,000 US a month there.
So people would ask, what's holding you?
What's holding me? Two things. So I had to choose between going to China and taking the money, which would be an amazing, great, it would probably be one of the best financial moves that I've made. But it came at the wrong time because I do a YouTube channel, and I know if I go to China, the channel's basically gonna die or pretty much be eliminated.
How long you work on the channel?
Like
Serious? Yeah.
probably right around 1 year now.
You won't throw that away.
I would have to get rid. So people will say, "Oh, you can go do it in China. Don't worry about it," but they don't understand. So right now, I have 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days to focus on my channel, editing, all this stuff. If I go teach English in China, I'm going to be working 5 days a week.
You wouldn't have the time.
I wouldn't have the time.
You would be in China.
I would be in China, so the content would be different. Plus, to shoot videos would maybe be 1 day. So maybe I can shoot it on a Saturday and kind of rush and maybe get the videos edited Saturday or Sunday. So I only have 1.5 days to get content done, which means maybe one video a week at best. So it wouldn't be the
It
same.
would be the question if people want to see that.
Yeah, it's just not even to that point. It's just the time wouldn't be there. And then I know I would get a different audience, which there's going to be some people, because I do watch China videos, people travel there, but it's just not going to be the same. It would definitely be different on every aspect. So that was kind of the big debate that I've been having for about the past 6 months is, do I keep trying to break even? And because that's what my goal is. If I can break even on my YouTube monthly revenues, then I'm 100% fine. I would rather do what I want, do my channel, even just break even, than to even go to China and work for someone else and do something that is not my passion. So I ended up staying here in Da Nang and choosing my channel. And then I don't know if that was the best choice, but we'll find out when we fast forward and look in the future, basically.
Your channel is your child.
It is, man. I just wish it would have came a little bit sooner, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, hindsight, right?
In hindsight, man. If I only knew what I know now 20 years ago, my whole life would have been different. I would have chosen a different path in many things.
You'd have done it during COVID times.
Or even if I would have just done it after college, I would have loved. I didn't know. I never really traveled till I was 37 years old. I would have loved to have found out about teaching online or teaching English in another country as soon as I got out of college. I would have done things a lot differently, more efficiently, and faster back then.
What course did you take in college?
I am a radio and TV major.
So that's your thing.
It's my thing, but sadly, I never made a dime. I never had a job in the radio and TV industry. So I had great network connections. I had a great time during college, but my degree has never earned me $1 ever. Never came into play in my many jobs, and never did. I will say it did help me a little bit on understanding how to edit and kind of how to view stuff, but as far as making money, it's never paid off for me.
So your channel now has a little over 3,000 subscribers?
Yep, a little over 3,000.
How old?
So technically the channel's probably about 1.5 years old, but if you go look back at those videos, a lot of those don't even have any audio. They're just kind of clips. But realistically, when my channel kind of really became a channel is probably the time that I landed in Bangkok, which was September of 2022. I just started to really start taking it serious. So probably realistically, you could probably say the beginning of 2023. And then I kind of took a break when I went back to the USA. So really just over a year. So basically from the past 12 months, actually past 10 months, I only had 500 subscribers. From 0 to 10 months of really focusing on my channel, I had 500 subscribers. Then on month 11, I cranked out 2 apartment videos out here in Da Nang. And those videos got a lot of traction and put me over 1,000 subscribers just on those 2 videos. And then my channel has just basically taken off since then. So basically 10 months to get to 500 subscribers and about 4 months to go from 1,000 to almost 3,500 now. So it's been definitely speeding up.
You still can fully live with that?
Technically yes, technically no. So my bills here are about $750 a month for everything.
Including visa?
Yes, everything.
Okay.
Now that is in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Now, if I downgraded and went to a 1-bedroom, I would probably be pretty close to breaking even. So the answer is, with a few tweaks, I could probably be breaking even. But at the moment, I'm probably recouping back maybe 60 to 65% of what I put out. So I'm still out of pocket 30 to 40% probably as of right now.
You could say that in a good month you're making 500, 600 bucks.
Yeah, this is probably actually going to be my best month ever on YouTube revenues, and I think I'm going to barely crack the $500 mark. But I also do in-person services, what I offer, and that's on. So that's an additional income also.
Did that take already off, or are you just beginning with that?
I started that about almost 4 months ago, about September, October. So four-ish months, maybe a little under 4 months. And basically I've been averaging one in-person service per month. So
It's not a lot.
it's not a lot, but it definitely covers about 30% of my bills. So
You were taking initially something like 50 bucks for that service?
no, when I first started it was 110. But I was doing phone consultations back then. That was $50. But now my service,
This is why I got the 50 bucks.
that's probably what it was. But I kind of got rid of the phone consultations and I just do the in-person service. And that's $140.
You never find a spot where it's quiet for half an hour in Vietnam.
Nope.
How Big Bentley in Ho Chi Minh is the soundtrack of Vietnam. Hammering, sawing,
Everything.
loud the motors with a broken muffler, whatever it may be, these people love the noises.
They're used to it.
So what do you wish for the future? You said once it would be nice not to having make the visa run, but then probably Da Nang would be in short term so overrun, and then the prices would go up.
Yeah.
So you're not really sure if you want the government to change the visa rules or not.
I'm kind of in the boat that I don't want anything to change because I know what happens. So a lot of people want a 1-year visa. A lot of people want a retirement visa, but they're only looking at it from that perspective. There's so many people that want that, right? Which means if that happens, a lot of people are going to come here because of it. And just naturally, when more people come, prices go up. Supply and demand. So they don't understand. So I don't want it. For me, I only have to get on the bus 4 times a year. That's how I look at it. 4 times a year. In Thailand, you can go stay in a year in Thailand, but you got to do 6 visa runs a year, and their immigration is a lot more pickier.
Wait a minute. The Thais don't want you to stay more than 6 months out of the calendar year.
Correct. So
After that, it gets picky.
yes, so that's what I'm saying. So right now, as an American, you can land in Thailand, Bangkok. I would land in, but Thailand, 60-day no visa, but then you have to leave. So
You can extend for another month.
you can extend, but it doesn't make sense as a budget traveler for this one simple reason. So you get 60 days for free. If you want to extend for 1 month, it's like $60. So I compare that to here in Vietnam. I get a 3-month visa for $25.
Well, the visa run is
The visa run, but at the same time, after that 3rd month in Thailand, you have to do a visa run anyways. So it's still going to be that. So technically, you're still paying more for the visa extension, and then you still have to leave after 1 month. And then,
well, the thing is, if you want to stay in Thailand, you go for the free 60 days. You either go for the extension. After 90 days, you leave, and then you do it all over again, and then you reach your 6 months. If you come on the 60-day free, after the second time, they say no more this year.
yes,
So you can stay only 4 months per year on that type of visa.
like I was saying, there the immigration is a lot more pickier. Here in Vietnam, there's nothing. You get on the bus, you can do it 150 times. No one questions you. So as of now, there's no debate between what's easier to do as far as immigration between Vietnam and Thailand. I know a guy that's here right now, and he said that he was doing the visa runs there, had all of his stuff, and at first they weren't going to let him come back. He almost started breaking down and crying, and he told them that he had a Thai girlfriend and she had all of his stuff, and they actually let him back in. That was it. So, but I mean, I'm sure for many other people, they actually asked him, let me see the pictures and make sure that he wasn't just making up a story. But
it's roughly, you know.
But basically,
this is what is almost half the reason what drives me out of here. This is so senseless, you know.
I'm so lucky. I'm so up high that I don't hear none of this. Only when I'm out in the street. So when I'm out, I'm like, okay, it's no big deal because I'm out. So I expect it to be loud. But I'm way at the top of the building, so it's quiet, man. The only time we get noise is when one of these apartments near us is doing like remodeling. So and you can't predict that. So your next door neighbor, your upstairs neighbor, you'll wake up at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, pam, 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 like you'll hear hammering. But how can you predict that? But that's the only noise that we hear. We don't hear these guys. We don't hear the partying. We're up too high.
A part of Germany, the whole world is noisy. It starts in Spain. You know? Houses are very thin walled. You hear your neighbor cough.
That's insane.
You hear your neighbor when he has fun.
Yeah.
You hear the mattress squeaking.
That's
this
crazy.
Very thin walled. And here in Asia, all over. But I think, my liking here, it's extreme, especially for things that are absolutely not necessary.
Yeah.
You could easily mandate or do something, you know, and take half of the ruckus away. But let's say, you know, don't do that anymore. Like these loudspeakers on the motorbike, just prohibit it.
Well, who's going to enforce it? I don't see cops here. Where do you see the police? It's kind of, I think it's just ingrained into them too. Like the things that drive me crazy, not really drive me crazy, but the things that just stand out is if you walk outside and you'll see people like at the street market offering a massage, there'll be one lady right here and a lady 3 feet next to her. This lady will ask, "You want a massage?" No, I'm good, thank you.
The next one.
3 feet later, the lady knows that you just turned down that one, and she'll ask the same exact question. And you're like, I wanted to say, hey, you just seen me say no to this lady. Do you think magically in 1.8 seconds, all of a sudden go, oh, no, I didn't want it from her, but now that you asked me, now I'm going to get it.
It's totally senseless and meaningless to them.
It's like robotic. It's just kind of like, it's ingrained in their head that when it's like a reaction. It's like if you hit your funny bone, your knee jumps up at the doctor's, right? It's the same thing. C person, you have to ask them. It's just A equals B. Like there's no deviating from, hey, why am I going to waste my breath on this guy when I can clearly see he's not interested?
I would compare it with when somebody does these infrared barrier combined with a doorbell. You run through it and it makes ping bong. You know, they see a whitey, you want massage? And they kind of stretch the word.
Yeah.
Kind of saws in your ear. You just say, hey, you want a massage? You want massage?
But what I don't understand, I'm a very simple guy, so I hate wasting time. And I'm like, why are they wasting their time? They literally know that I'm going to say no matter what. When I just walked by 4 people and said no to all them, why even waste their breath? They're not gaining anything from this. Like, just save your breath. Like, hey, maybe if some guy's looking and showing attention, but if a guy's on a phone carrying a bag of groceries that's a milk and meat, you know he's not going to sit there and put his groceries down while he's on his phone and get a massage. It's like, hey, you got to know the crowd. Like, I guarantee if there was a lady crying, sobbing, crying, they would probably still ask her, do you want a massage? Like, there's no like, hey, this person's not a good customer, let me not ask them.
But let's face it, that's going to be more and more the case in the West, that people just walk basically their whole life without using their brain.
Yeah.
And here they are so on meditation paths They're working on automat.
Yeah,
It's like you, if you have a stick shift, you don't think, oh, I'm in second gear, I'm gonna shift into third. You
Yeah.
just do it.
yeah,
You don't think about it.
yeah.
And these people, somebody walks by that looks like a tourist, I'll ask them about my business. You know, like a restaurant, they show you the menu, and even if you say, I've just eaten,
You could be eating a sandwich while you're walking by.
they shove their menu in
No,
your face.
no. The one that I always get is I'll be wearing glasses, and the glasses lady with the board, she'll try to sell me the exact same pair of glasses, and I'll say, "Hey, I have these, and I actually bought these from you. I just bought these from you." And then she'll say, "Okay, yeah, here, let me give you another." I'm like, "Where am I going to wear them? What am I going to put them on the back of my head?" And it's like, why doesn't this lady just either save her breath and her energy, or know that I'm not going to do it and just ask the guy behind me? But why literally waste your time and mine knowing 100% we are not going to have a deal?
I'm riding on my bicycle, and the taximan asked me,
Do you want to ride?
taxi? Where are we going to put my bike? Right?
It's
Funny.
insane.
really funny.
It's like something, there's like a switch that they could just turn on and off in their brain. And it's just like, hey, it's like when you call someone's phone and it goes to voicemail. Hey, this is John. You missed my call. It's the same thing. Hey, I spot guy. Here's the automatic message that I give to every single person that walks by, no matter what. And I just don't understand what they gain from it.
They don't think. They can actually.
But they're not helping themselves.
Yeah. They don't care. They can actually go on hours without having any of those cogwheels that they do have between their ears moving.
I just don't understand.
I would love to do. You know, I tried meditation for all of my life, and I'm not really getting anywhere because I'm one of those guys that are constantly thinking.
You know what the word, the saying is exactly the opposite here. So I'm a big believer, and I always tell people, work smarter, not harder. In Danang or in Asia in general, it's work harder, not smarter. They spend so much time doing stuff that's unnecessary. So much time. Like you'll see stuff and you're just like, why are they doing this? And like, it's just crazy to me. It's just so crazy to me that I don't know if it's they don't know better or it's just a routine that they just get used to and just say, hey, this is the routine. No matter what, I'm going to do it.
I think if we would have grown up here in this environment, we would understand it.
I don't think there's nothing to understand. I just think it would be a routine and just normal. But if you sat down and asked a local why they do it, I don't think they would really have an answer.
They don't.
I think it'd just be like, because that's how it goes. Like, there wouldn't be like, oh, well, you don't understand X, Y, and Z equals this. It's just like, it just is. That's why.
Yeah. They don't ask behind.
Yeah, there's no logic behind it. It's just like, well, because that's what this person did that showed me, and that's what this person did. There's no questioning. It's just because. It's like, it reminds me when I was a kid and your parents would tell you something like, no, you can't go hang out with your friends. Oh, why? Because I said so. It's like, well, give me the reason. Like, what's the reason? Just because I said so. And it's like, I need to understand what is the reason behind it. Not just, oh, because I said so. Or, hey, how come the sun's out? Give me a scientific reason. Oh, the sun comes out because it rises over here. No, people just say, the sun's out because it just came out. It's like, I understand that part, but why is it out? Because it is. That's the logic of out here. It's just something that's so hard, because I actually hear a lot of either locals or tourists say, the one thing that makes sense in Vietnam is stuff that doesn't make sense. And it's just like, and they say it's just the way it is. Just get used to it. And I'm like, I have a very logical brain, so it drives me crazy. I need to figure out how things work and why things are. And here it's just like, you'll never get the answer. It's just, oh, that's just the way it is.
And you're not going to change these people. And if you can't stand it, then you have to move.
Yeah.
Which is why I bought my ticket out of here.
Oh yeah, you're leaving.
I'm leaving.
But are you coming back?
No.
Never.
Never say never, but
No plans.
You know, number one, I want to stay out the cold months out of Europe, and that's exactly the time when it's rainy season here. I hear that last year rainy season was not much of a bother, right? You had a day like you're having today, blue sky, warm. Now the last months, I was getting close to go somewhere else. I was fed up with it being dark every day. I mean, on the other hand, if it's not bleeding hot, it's nice also. I know a place in South America on the coast where it's 38 degrees, it's 100% humidity. Your t-shirts stick to your body. The second you go out of your apartment, you basically go to a mall to hang out there, or you sit in some other aircon place, or you sit at home in daytime.
Yeah.
So I went out early morning before the sun was up, and then after the sun was going down 5 in the afternoon, you go to the beach, you hope for a little breeze.
Yeah.
That's the other extreme. But I don't go out of cold and rainy Germany to end up in a place where it rains and it's overcast all the time.
So, but
that's number one.
You can't find a comparable place, at least in a lot of aspects, to Da Nang in Asia. Where else would you?
Cambodia. Way down south, it's not that rainy around here. So it is still rainy season, but.
But I mean, you're gonna have more of a risk of crime. That's what I've heard.
I just saw a video of a guy that puts on purpose his laptop somewhere, his cell phone somewhere. He goes 50 yards away, puts up his camera, said, "Okay, let's now wait."
See if someone takes it.
For like 4 hours, his camera on speed run. You know, like 10 times, 20 times. You see these people rushing back and forth, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and nothing happens.
But
people come running when he puts something down and he goes on the other side of the street. They come, "Oh, sir, here's your telephone."
Yeah. Beach cities, a big city like this, international airport, cost of living. Are you going to find that in Cambodia?
Tell me any place in the world that checks all the boxes.
This has been the only place. This is why I'm so here for so long.
Well,
I would love to find all these requirements that I have in Da Nang, in Thailand, or the Philippines, but they just don't exist. They don't exist. That's the problem.
And even if the visa situation in Thailand is much worse than it is here, and even if prices in the Philippines are
even if they were the same,
right, or what it is here, still, I don't want to sit in a city where people absolutely senselessly make noise almost 24 hours a day. This morning I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and some idiot outside were making a ruckus for nothing. Just because he likes it. These people have absolutely no conscience that they wake up other people at 4 in the morning. Doesn't bother them at all.
No.
I mean, not that this won't happen somewhere else in Asia, especially in Asia, but I find that here people are extremely inconsiderate when it comes to noise. And then twice a month, the spirits of the deceased have to be soothed by burning up some shit and letting it smolder. That bothers me.
I don't ever really run into that because we're up so high. So I guess we're good on that sense. But
then on top of that, the visa situation, which is, like I say, better than Thailand.
Oh yeah, man, this is one of the best Asian visas. I mean, you're not going to find a better longer than 90-day visa situation in Asia besides the Philippines. I mean, you can go to Malaysia. Malaysia is going to give you 90 days, but go look at the cost of living in Malaysia compared to here.
Right.
So it's like you're not going to find. Now you go to Thailand. Thailand's 60 days. Yeah, it could be 90, but you still got to pay an extension.
The whole east coast of Malaysia is Muslim run.
Yeah, you're not going to find a 90-day visa in Asia at this cost with an international airport, with a beach, safe. You're not going to find it in Asia. The only place in my mind that's cheap enough, not cheap, but cheap enough with a 90-day or longer visa is the Philippines. But the Philippines is 30% more expensive than here. So
And the visa is not really cheap. Right?
no, it's almost the same price as here. The only benefit to that is that you don't have to leave the country, but every month you're paying 30% more expensive there, and you're getting lesser inferior quality. But there's no other options. What options do you have? 90 days in an extremely cheap country. Everyone's gonna say, "Oh, Thailand, you can do." It's like, no, Thailand, you have to pay for the third month, plus their visa, their immigration is very tough. They're gonna start taxing travelers. Then you say, "Oh, Malaysia," but Malaysia's not cheap. Malaysia's nowhere near as cheap as Da Nang. Then people go, "Oh, Japan. Japan has 90 days, I think." Japan is not as cheap, not even close. So where is your options? Where are your 90-day options? And then everyone that are not, I traveled a lot. Like I said, I've been to 20 countries. One 7 or 9 day span, I think I was in 6 or 7 countries. People don't understand. Like they're just like, oh, once I get there, I'll just do visa runs. Like they don't understand. It's not as simple as your brain thinks it is. Sometimes this doesn't happen. So you're just not going to leave the country every 60 days and say, oh, well, I'm going to go travel in a new country. And if you do, your budget's going to quickly increase.
Some people like Indonesia. The only
30-day visa, though.
The only place I get along is in Bali, and I haven't been there for a long time.
I like Bali.
I don't know the price situation.
Pricing is at least going to be the same as Da Nang, but you only get a 30-day visa.
You can't extend?
I think you can extend for 1 month, but you pay, and then you have to leave after 60 days. So imagine, every 60, people go like, oh, 60 days and 90 days is not that different, right? It is when you look over the course of a year, because 60 days to 90 years, 60 days to 90 days equals 4 visa runs or 6 visa runs.
Yeah, and if you need an air ticket.
Yeah, you got to get an air ticket to fly out. So there's no other option. Like, you either have to go to a shorter term staying country visa-wise, or you have to pay more.
So for the visa, the only country is Cambodia.
Cambodia, I heard they do have, actually, I heard you can even get a 1-year visa, but the downsides that I've heard about Cambodia is much lesser quality infrastructure, not as safe as Vietnam. And I've heard a lot of places don't have the beach. And I was even told that Cambodia is technically more expensive than Da Nang, and everyone thinks Cambodia is cheaper. But everybody I know that's been to Cambodia says, no, man, I paid more in Cambodia, and it was lesser quality. Plus, I worried about my safety. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get robbed and kidnapped, but I heard a couple of people tell me like, hey, man, someone stole my phone. Someone ran up behind me. A guy told me he was walking down the street, and a guy came up behind him and choked him out and took his phone. And I was like, I wouldn't even think that would even happen in Da Nang. I would never even be concerned.
On the table when you go to
the
room.
So it's like, yeah, you could maybe go to Cambodia, and then you find out, hey, man, it's a little more sketchy. Hey, the internet doesn't work. And those little things, if you have 5 or 6 little things, they all add up at the end of the month. And you're like, man, this isn't worth it, especially for the same price.
I coined a word with the telephones. In Thailand, I could leave my telephone on the table when I go to the toilet. In Da Nang, I actually do it.
Yeah. I don't worry about my safety at all. Well, I take that back. The one thing that I do worry about my safety is these damn scooters hitting you and the traffic. But I don't worry about anyone actually like pickpocketing me or doing anything like that. I just worry about the traffic. That's it.
You are one of these guys that's never been on a scooter here?
Not here. I've driven a scooter in the USA, no problem. So everyone keeps thinking, oh, why is this guy scared of scooters? It's not the scooter, it's the drivers is that I'm concerned about. Go look, show me a stop sign. Where's there a stop sign? Where's a stoplight?
We don't need that here.
There's no such thing.
If there would be a stop sign, everybody would ignore it.
And then at nighttime, you'll have someone come off the curb with no headlights on and drive on the wrong way.
That'd be the next challenge. After the food challenge, get on a grab bike.
No. So what I told my channel that if I get to 10,000 subscribers, I will rent a scooter and I'll do a video from the scooter one day. So that's their motivation to get me to 10,000 subscribers. But not until that day am I even thinking about getting on a scooter. I don't even debate it. I've heard too many stories. In the past 3 months, I've seen with my own eyes 3 different motorcycle accidents.
The thing is, driving here is kind of slow. Not so many people race. So yes, accidents happen, but not grave accidents. I've seen a lot of dead people in Thailand because they drive pretty fast. Here, look at that scooter is just coming here. It's going like what, 25?
But watch him. He won't even look to the left or the right. They just go.
Yeah.
And when I notice when people make a right, they don't even look. See, that lady didn't even look to her left. So in the USA, this is what you do. So I'm driving, right? And let's say I'm going to make a right-hand turn. What's the last thing that you do before you make that right-hand turn? You look to your left. I've never seen one person here do it. They don't even look. There could be a diesel truck coming down. There could be a dog running out the street. They don't even take a quarter of a second to look this way. They just go like this. And I'm like, you know, if someone hits you, you're going to be hurt. How is it this insane idea? Like, hey, I'm not even going to take half a second to just peek out of one eye and look over to the left.
Well, I'm riding on my bicycle all over town, and I don't really know how these people do it. They just do it.
I just don't understand it. And I don't understand. So I can understand, like, Americans, we rush, we're not patient. Asians are very patient. So what is it to them to take a half a second to just peek to the left-hand side? It's not for anyone else. It's for their own safety.
Yeah.
Who's going to be hurt when they don't look this way and someone hits them? Them. It's like the same thing about, like, asking you for a massage. They're only putting themselves at danger. It's only them that's going to be hurt. What is that half second going to change in their life? I have no clue. It's so insane. They'll just go like this and they'll just turn. And then here's supposedly what they tell me. They say, oh, they rely on everyone behind them to avoid them. And it's like, huh? Like, so this guy can just drive crazy and he's just supposed to expect someone else to drive better and just stop? Like, why doesn't everyone just take personal responsibility and just drive normally? And
there's no safety net to that. You know,
it's like a death wish.
With everything in life, as long something runs the normal course, it works fine, and it works way cheaper. You know, in our countries we have all these kind of insurance and backup and safety line, and it makes life expensive at any case, and maybe even a bit complicated. Yep. And here everything is easy as long as it works.
Everybody lives for the day. That's it.
And if one day it doesn't work well, then we have tough life.
Yeah, it's insane.
And they eat that, you know.
I think Americans are like that, but I've heard Germans are even more strict to the rules than Americans.
Oh yeah.
So going from a German mindset to an Asian mindset must be even more insane, because as an American, it's crazy. But then they say, like, in Germany, like, if you cross the street without, like, making sure the light's green, people get on you. Like, here, there's not even a light to even look at. So it's like,
yeah, I had that, you know, back home, I'm jaywalking. Didn't you see I'm with a small child here? What kind of example are you giving?
That's insane. It's not that bad in the USA, but at least we follow the rules. In USA, the law is the pedestrian, whoever's walking, has the right of way. Even if this guy, even the car has a green light and he's free to go, if someone walks out, you have to stop. Even if you hit him, it's your fault.
But I've seen in California, people, when they're in the traffic jam, they open the doors to hinder motorbikes passing by.
I've never seen that.
Was it a fad for a couple of years or so? It was a long time ago.
Very interesting.
But the whole, you know, here's a million cars on the freeway.
Yeah.
Traffic, absolute standstill. And most of the cars have both passenger and driver door open.
Wow.
So motorbikes can't pass.
I never heard of that. Very interesting. But that'll just cause some road rage. The motorcycle's going to yell at the guy, and the guy's going to yell back, and then all of a sudden something's going to happen.
I was thinking, you know, that's the fun of riding a motorbike, that if traffic stops, you can still pass, right?
Yeah. It's legal in California. It's legal, so that's fine. And so that's just on the drivers being upset about it. I've never seen that, though. I don't even think I've ever heard of it. That's the first time, but very interesting. Here it's crazy because I'll be in like a Grab or in drive, and the scooters will be so close to the cars. And then remember, no one looks, and you're supposed to rely on other people. We'll be coming here, and the car will just come over, and the scooter will just all of a sudden have to stop. Like these guys, if I was driving a car here, I would have ran over so many people already. If I drive like I drive in the USA here, I would have ran over 20 people already. Because they come out of nowhere. They try to squeeze down a tiny little thing, or they come off the curb in the middle of the road, and they come onto the street, and then they go onto the curb, and it's like, in USA, that does not fly. Like, it's just crazy. Insane. That was a long one. I felt like I was on a 60 Minutes interview on Dateline. That's a long time. Let me catch up with the chat. I completely forgot about you guys. You guys are sneaking in the back.
40th floor in Da Nang. City view. Ocean. And the northern part of the city, Santra. So, you there and me here, or the other way around?
I think you there. So you can either hold this or you can put it on your shirt. Either one.
I'll put it on my shirt.
Okay. Probably put it this way. There we go. There we go. The double duty.
Double take.
Okay. Let me try to raise this one up a
Probably
little.
have to do it a little higher.
The mic up a little higher?
Oh no, that's okay. I meant yesterday when we shot the durian, I was up to here. That's stupid. Is it too bad?
No, I just noticed it when I seen it, when you sent it.
Just a rookie mistake.
Yeah, man, I had so many like that. So there's been times where I've made a great interview back in college, and then I realized I didn't even turn on the microphone. That's the worst, because there's nothing you can really do. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see if I should.
You have the media part on that GoPro, right?
The media mod, yeah. I got that before I came to USA. Or I got that before I came here.
I probably get myself one as soon as I get home.
They were like $60, but
it's
they're worth it.
If I buy it here, something goes wrong. Where's the guarantee? So I wait until I'm home in 3 months. So
okay, I guess we're gonna.
Are we rolling?
In a second, we will. So, let me go back. Give me 1 second. I think at the end I'll ask you to plug your channel, and then the last question I'll end with is like maybe some advice to people that want to travel.
Okay.
If you have any advice, that's probably how we'll know when it's at the end. I don't think I'm going to do an hour, but we'll go. I'll do kind of like an introduction, then like give like your background on travel. Then we'll kind of focus a little bit on Da Nang. Then we'll go into the channel, and then probably at the end it'll be like advice. But those will be the main points, but we'll hit things up in the middle too. Say something real quick.
Hello, test.
I'm going to be testing on this microphone. I'm going to be testing on this microphone. Perfect. Okay. So today we're doing an interview. This is Hendrix, my new German friend here in the amazing city of Da Nang, Vietnam. So Hendrix, why don't you first off introduce yourself and tell us the basics about you.
Okay, I'm Hendrix. I'm a pensioner since early this year. I came to Vietnam in October. I'll stay the whole winter out of cold Germany, enjoy the sun here like we have today. Today, beautiful day in Da Nang. I have a small YouTube channel. So Willz is my big idol. I want to reach where he is, but not yet. My channel is just 3 months old. And I'm hanging out here, I'm taking it easy.
Do you want to tell everybody how old you are and how long you've been traveling for?
I'm 65 now. I did traveling when I was in my 20s and early 30s. Then I kind of settled down And for a while, I went back to my home country. I brought up a child. Now the child is adult, and I'm traveling again.
Nice. So your home country is Germany, correct?
Right?
Big difference in traveling throughout Germany and throughout Asia or through the world. Can you maybe tell us some of the differences that you notice when you travel abroad outside of Germany?
Usually, traveling abroad means for me Asia or South America. Way more easy and cheaper. Maybe not that clean, right? But you think of Germany, or many people tell me, oh yeah, Germany so efficient and fast and on time. Far from it. German trains, 9 out of 10 are delayed or canceled. It's a pain to travel. And it can be expensive. So if you ever go to Germany, buy your train ticket about 3-4 weeks in advance and you get a deal on it. If not, you pay an arm and a leg and don't expect the train to be on time.
Maybe that's a myth. So everyone, especially in USA, we always hear about Germany is so efficient, they're on time. I think we were making a joke earlier about if you cross the street on a red light in Germany, people are gonna want to kill you. So is some of that a myth? Is that just propaganda? Or
You get accosted if you jaywalk, yeah.
but the trains are not on time like what people say?
No, the efficiency and the on-time thing that disappeared. You still have to be on time if you go for an interview for a job, and if your train doesn't run on time, then good luck to you. It's become a household name, you know. German trains suck.
But I would guess Germany is a lot more efficient than most of Southeast Asia overall.
Well, yeah, you know, the supermarkets are always stocked. We don't know power outages. We are still a first world country, but in some aspects we are lagging. Like, you don't have glass fiber everywhere. You know, lots of people in the country, they still struggle with their internet connection with a copper cable. Like where I live, the last mile is copper cable. So it's only that fast that I can go with my internet connection at home.
What part of Germany do you live in?
Germany has 16 federal states. I live in the one that is most populated, North Rhine-Westphalia. It has about a quarter of the population of 80 million lives there. The capital is Düsseldorf, and I'm living nearby.
So for our viewers out there, how close would that be to like a Berlin or a Munich?
Goes as far to Berlin, maybe 500 kilometers, to Munich, maybe 600 and more.
Okay, so let's kind of get in since this we're kind of in the Southeast Asia territory, when was your first trip and where was it in Southeast Asia?
I traveled 1982 to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka at that time didn't have a single mall or a bigger supermarket or anything assembling that what I was used to from back home. So that was a real culture shock. That was the first and basically only time where I really felt for the first week totally out of place and shocked. And then I lived in a private home. I arrived somewhere, somebody asked me, where do you live? And I say, I have no clue, I just arrived. All right, there is my grandpa over there. He lives alone in the house. You can rent his room that he doesn't use. He has several rooms in the house. I went over there, very old house, very old guy. The guy might have been 85. A beer that long, a foot long, not a word of English. His grandson, or what it was, translated. I got a room for like $1.50 a night. Simple room, but okay. The thing is, I've been on the beach. The beach was about 400 yards away. It got dark and I didn't find, there was no lightning. There was no street lights. There was no street. There was just coconut trees and little houses. I was totally lost. People took me, I asked, where's the old man's house? And people literally took me by the hand. And it took me a week or so to get my marks. Like you are living in some place, be it the US or Germany or elsewhere, and there are certain things, the kind of buildings, the kind of landmarks that you orientate you right now. I was in a place that were only coconut trees. They all look the same. And I don't know how I manage, I don't know how the people manage, but after a couple of days, you get the gist of it. And I found the place all by myself. But the first couple of days, people took me by the hand like a little child and brought me home from the beach after dark.
And this is all before Google Maps. This is all before Grab, any kind of online anything, basically, right?
No internet at that time.
No internet. So I'm sure there was some pros. I'm sure there was some cons. What were the biggest pros about traveling before, I guess you would call it the digital age?
People actually talked to you, and you didn't have a whole generation glued to their telephones. So if you want to see it as an advantage, in some countries, they saw a foreigner and they jump at you. Hey, what are you doing? Where you come from? And you had new friends every corner.
On the flip side, what were the cons about not having technology back then?
Not really, because if you go to a new country, basically you need to eat and you need a place to sleep. And people understood that more than today. If today you would ask somebody on the street, hey, I just arrived, I would like to have a room or an apartment or a hotel room, something like that, they would say, why you don't go to Agoda?
Absolutely.
Why you don't go to Booking? And then you want to go somewhere, there is something 20 kilometers away. And that time you ask around, is there a bus, or how do people move around here? Is there maybe these Indian motorcycle taxis? They're kind of funny. They have a 2-stroke motor. You sit in the back. I think they still have them in Cambodia. How they called? Samlaw in Thailand, I believe.
So give us an idea of what a monthly budget was traveling back in the early 80s compared to now.
In the mid-80s, I moved to Philippines. I lived there for 5 years. And if there was nothing out of the ordinary, like I was there, I was set up, I got my place, I got a girlfriend, and then I bought a motorcycle. It was a used one. I paid something like $750. And 5 years later, I sold it for $500. So I don't count that one. This is a one-time expenditure. And you maybe at one point, I bought a TV set or a refrigerator or something like that. If you discount that, I was living with $300 a month.
Wow.
My rent was $30. My electric bill was $2.50. Mind you, at that time, no aircon. I had a refrigerator, a TV set, and a naked bulb hanging from the ceiling. That was my electric appliances.
What city was that in?
Cebu City, second biggest city in the country, at least then. I don't know now.
That's one of my favorite cities in the Philippines, and I'm sure we have some viewers from out there. When was the last time you went to Cebu, and how would you compare it now or the last time you've been there to the first time you went there?
First time I've been there, Cebu City was a quiet provincial town. When I left in 91, it was already bustling. It didn't have all these high-rises. It didn't have IT Park. It did have a couple of malls. No comparison to what they have today. So it's really in between beginning of the 90s to today. We're talking 30 years. They jumped at least a century in development.
And then after the Philippines, what are some of your favorite Southeast Asian or just Asian countries to travel in general?
Asian countries. I always loved Thailand. I've been to Malaysia. I don't like the Muslim part of the country. Know what I mean? So I was hanging out mostly in Penang, which is Chinese dominated. I've been in Singapore when it wasn't that outrageously expensive. I was in Indonesia. Now I traveled to Java. Didn't really get along with the mentality of the people there. I love Bali. Bali was dirt cheap then. What always put me off, that I don't know how it is today, absolutely to leave after 60 days. And you more or less had to take an airplane, which 30, 40 years ago was more expensive than it is today. Airline prices have gone down. So today, to do a visa run with a ticket going from A to B is no comparison to what it used to be earlier. So earlier, if you lived in a place and you had to do 6 visa runs a year, and you had to use an airplane to go from A to B, that ripped into your budget.
Okay. How did you end up in Vietnam? More specifically, how did you end up here in Da Nang, Vietnam?
I was binge watching YouTube about information, and the first choice would have been Thailand, but it's kind of hard to stay there 6 months. The aim was to stay out of Germany the whole winter, the whole period where it's cold, which is about 6 months. So first choice Thailand, because I know the language a little bit, I know the people, I get along with them, they have nice places, they have nice beaches, I like the food. But then I said, why not be a little bit more adventurous? Go to a place you've never been. I started watching YouTube content about Vietnam. I've heard about the people are nice, the cost of living is cheap. Then I was looking for places, and always Da Nang popped up. It's not as sticky hot as Ho Chi Minh. It does has a beach, it's directly on the coast. It's not as cold as Hanoi, and Hanoi doesn't have a beach either. That was one requirement. Having a good climate, not too hot, not too cold, having a beach. And Da Nang checked these boxes.
So, can you tell us maybe what you spend in a month living here in Da Nang, Vietnam? I know a lot of people are shocked when cost of living is brought up. Can you maybe expand on that?
Let's dissect that into 3 expenditures. There's once my apartment, which currently I pay about 170, or in US it's a bit more than euros, right? Let's be at $190. Then food, it's at least once a week I go for a more expensive foreign food, be it Greek or Japanese sushi or whatnot. The rest of the time I eat local. For example, my breakfast, I usually go to the same place. I have a rice soup with some meat and seafood in it that costs $1.50. So second food, let it be $150 a month. Then the third one is my massages. I get a massage for $8 for a full hour, full body massage, and I go every second day. 15 times 8, under $20. That's my everyday expenditure.
Expand a little bit on transportation. I know how you get around on transportation, but tell everyone how you get around.
The first couple of weeks here, I took Grab bikes and Grab taxi cars. Then I discovered InDrive. Grab is cheap and InDrive is even cheaper. I remember going to Hoi An, which is about 25 kilometers, and I paid $12 or so for a taxi, and I paid $6 for a motorbike ride. That was with Grab. If I would have known then InDrive, it would have been even a couple dollars cheaper. It's ridiculously cheap. I went around town, $1.50, $2, $2.50 a taxi ride if you do it with Grab. Then I got a bicycle for free, a loaner, and I'm doing all my stuff now on bicycles for free.
Every time I run into you, you're always riding your bike.
Yeah. I always enjoyed riding. I have 2 very expensive bikes at home. Nowadays I'm a bit easier. When I was still working, I was doing 35,000 kilometers a year on bike.
Wow. Okay, so can you just quickly list off your 3 pros of living in Da Nang?
Pro number 1 is the cost of living. It's incredibly cheap. Number 2 is the people are basically friendly. Number 3, it is absolutely safe. I always say, in Thailand, I could leave my cell phone on the table and go to the toilet. In Da Nang, I actually do that.
Now, on the flip side, tell us the 3 cons of living in Da Nang, Vietnam.
All right. Number one, what bothers me is the visa run. You get a maximum of 90 days and the government chase you over the border, which I don't really see the reason why, but they do it. So if you want to stay 6 months, you have to do at least 1 visa run. Can be a pain in the butt. Plus that the application for e-visa, you forgot the dot on the I, you didn't cross 1 T, they reject it, your money is lost, you start all over again. That's really anal. I don't really understand why they are that way, but it's, you come here, you get the rules, you abide by it, or you leave. So yeah, the visa, it could be basically, at least for old people like me, could be way cheaper and way easier. Number one. Number two, Vietnamese, as nice and friendly people they are, they're also pyromaniacs. They have this thing twice a month, like in the middle of the month and in the end of the month, they're burning a special paper. They want to soothe the ghosts of their ancestors or whatnot, and they love to let fire smolder. And then they have any kind of trash, or they prune their trees, and then they have leaves that are not really dry. And that stuff, when they burn it, it stinks. Even if this town is on the beach and it should have lots of fresh air, it stinks. And it's really, if you have a problem with your lungs, if you have a bronchitis or so, let's say it this way, if you don't have a bronchitis, you get one here.
Okay, real quickly touching on that subject, who would be the people that you would say, hey, you're perfect for Da Nang? And on the flip side, who would you tell, hey, Da Nang is not for you?
That's hard to say. You have to have a certain level of patience to be living here. You have to be willing to part from whatever you did where you're coming from. Like you're from the US, from Canada, Australia, you used to certain foods and certain rules and what you do in your daily life, and things here are different. If you're adaptive, you are the kind of guy that should come here and check it out if you want to travel. Now, if you're the kind of guy that needs safety net everywhere, you need everything clean, and you need everything orderly, I would reconsider.
That's a great breakdown. I know just a little bit ago you mentioned you traveled throughout the world, and you mentioned South America and Central America. Can you maybe briefly tell us about your trips out there and what you thought about that part of the world?
South America in particular is a total different ball game. The mentality of the people is more like what I'm used from the West, from Europe. They're not acting and thinking like Asians at all, because they are mixed. If most countries that you come, their ancestors come from Germany, Italy, Spain, of course, and they're a little bit mixed in one part with indigenous, in other parts which what used to be brought over slaves from Africa. Especially in Brazil, you notice there is all kind of mixture. Now, I lived the longest time in Colombia. In Colombia, you have indigenous people. On the Pacific coast, you have black people. And of course, you have mixed.
Okay, and I notice you've been doing a lot of uploading on your YouTube channel. Can you briefly describe or tell us about your YouTube channel that you do? Hold on, we'll cut this.
Yeah, run right in front of my camera. Do it, no problem. Thank you. Yeah, my camera is rolling.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so we'll pick this up at 21:05. So I've noticed you've been doing a lot of uploading on your YouTube channel. Can you briefly tell us the name of your YouTube channel and maybe tell us what your channel focuses on or what it's about?
My channel is just 3 months old. The name is Travel Hendrix, like Jimi Hendrix, just Travel Hendrix, 2 words. I do travel content, I do goofy stuff all around Da Nang. I have one video where I just ride a bike through the city. I have interviews. I try to bring to my viewers information about the city, about Vietnam. I'll have a little bit content about the food here and a couple things out of the ordinary.
Very nice. And how often do you upload on that?
Irregular, whenever I have something. Like I say, my channel is about 90 days old and I have about 90 videos, long and short together.
Okay. And in closing, what would you tell people that either haven't traveled to this part of the world or have never traveled? Do you have any advice to give people?
If you have any interest in seeing a place like Vietnam, I would advise you to come between now and the next year or two, because things here change rather rapidly and mostly not for the better. That starts with the price. We all expect this place has kind of an inflation going on in the next couple of years, so you still want to enjoy low cost of living, come rather sooner than later.
And in conclusion or in summary, is there any last words that you want to say to anybody out there?
Come and see for yourself. You can watch all you want about travel content. It doesn't match what you're gonna experience because you are you. You are different from other people. What you do, what you experience, gonna be different from any YouTuber that's telling you what things are here.
Okay, so if you guys are interested in Hendrix's travels and his adventures, I'm going to drop the link in the description. Please follow him and follow him on his adventures. Once again, thank you, Hendrix, for doing the interview with us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to have to probably just use some other B-roll on there. I should have got you on your bike earlier. I didn't think about that.
We can still do that. Sun is still out. Wonderful day today, isn't it? This is what I envisioned for my winter.
I kept telling everybody about 2 weeks ago. I said in about 2 weeks, I think this place is going to clean up. So I think this is going to be kind of the last part of the rainy season. Let me get a little